Fire up the DeLorean, race fans. We're going back in time to Islip Speedway, the smallest track in NASCAR history. This place has been a shopping mall since the 1970s, but nobody cares. We're going to race there. It's our second short track stop of the year after Bristol. Wait a second. The PR representative is just telling me I can't talk about that race. Well, I don't know why. We're going to go there next year, but whatever. It's short track racing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get this qualifying session kicked off with our points leader, Ross Chastain. And he has been dominant. The last 5 races has been either first or second place. He's got an enormous lead over second place Sterling Marlin. And the gates are down. Almost no pushback from the start gate. And it's going to be a 6.43. Very good lap time. And up next is Sterling Marlin, who's second in points. He won at Le Mans earlier this year, has a couple of other podiums and main event appearances. And a bit sluggish for him. He's usually faster than that. That's a 7.63. Up next is Alan Kulwicki, winner at Bristol. Wait, shouldn't have said that. Bristol didn't have a race this year. Okay, it did. But it's giving me plenty of time to talk because that's bad. It's a 9.12, and he'll need a miracle to not start in the third row. And up next, it's Jimmy. It's our highest-ranked dollar store car. He's won our very first race in the series, the Daytona 500 this year, but since then he's been inconsistent. And Jimmy runs a 7.84. Our next driver up is Todd Bodine, winner of the Coca-Cola 600. He's currently sitting 5th in points. All 5 of these drivers so far have won races. And he's about to exit the turn. That's a 6.28. That'll put him on the pole for the time being. Now up next is Johnny Benson, the highest-ranked driver that hasn't won a race yet in the NASCAR Nitro Series, as well as the highest-ranked driver with rubber tires. No pushback at all from the start gate. This looks like it's going to be a good lap. He rides the outside to a 6.44. And up next is Bill Elliott, another driver who just got his second career podium last week after a few weeks of inconsistency. Let's see if he can build some positive momentum off of that. And he looks like he's got off the gate pretty quick, and he's up against the wall, lost some speed coming out of the turn. That's a 6.84. And up next is the 40 car of Pete Hamilton. And he started off the season strong with 2 top 5s in the first 4 races, but since then it's been nothing but DNFs, and that streak continues in this qualifying session. He'll be starting in last place. And up next is Kaz Gralla in the number 50 car. He raced his way into the top 12 in points. It's last week after beating out Ross Chastain, becoming the surprise winner at Indianapolis. He had struggled with DNQs and DNFs in the first part of the season, but now has 2 main event appearances, including that win, and he puts up a 7.03. Up next is Ricky Craven, our second rubber-tired car in the top 12 in points. After Johnny Benson, of course, after a strong start to the season, he's been pretty much in the middle of the road. Not a lot of main event appearances, but not a lot of DNFs either. And that's not a very fast lap. It's a 7.75. Should be getting in on points here. And this is Richard Petty, currently 11th in points, hanging on to a top 12 spot on the strength of a podium finish in the season opener. And he is lucky to get in. This is not going to be a good lap. It's an 8.94. And rounding out the top 12 is Bubba Wallace. He's been looking inconsistent lately. Had a DNF in the last race, a podium in the race before that. So with him, you're either going to get close to the front or close to the back. And so far, that looks to 6.87. That'll be close to the front. And up next is Rusty Wallace, no relation. He got booted out by Kaz Gralla winning last week. And that's not going to be a good lap. Taking his good old time there. That is an 8.63. And up next is E. Marshall. E. Marshall, of course, this will be his first attempt since sitting out 1 race for rough driving. For those that don't remember, he forced Bill Elliott to barrel roll in the seconds race at Charlotte. And that's a 7.46. And up next is Jeff Fuller. Jeff Fuller also recently squeezed out of the top 12. Another middle-of-the-pack driver looking to rebound his season. And this looks like he's off on a good start. He looks pretty fast so far. That is a 6.75. That should get him in. Up next, it's Jeremy Mayfield. Another driver that's very hot and cold. He's had 2 main event appearances in the last 3 races, but that third race was a DNQ due to flipping during qualifying. He has a very fast but unstable car, and so far that's a 6.0, 6 flat. That'll put him on the pole. That is almost a full 0.3 faster than Todd Bodine, who he just unseated, and almost a half a second faster than Ross Chastain, who is now in third. And this is D driver in the 86 car. This is a teammate of Jimmy and Bubba Wallace. That is a 790, and we're pretty sure that D stands for dangerous because of all the DNFs that he's had. And up next is David Reagan, the one-hit wonder. He got a 3rd place earlier in the season at Texas, and this is looking really bad, and he may not even finish here, and he does not. That is a DNF in qualifying. And with this being the shortest track that I've ever built, anybody that DNFs here is automatically disqualified. That makes him and Pete Hamilton so far. Won't be seeing these cars on the track anymore this season. And up next is Ricky Rudd. Ricky Rudd, much like Jeremy Mayfield, is the same casting teammates, and I really don't know what happened there, but he finished the lap and ran a 6.56. Now up next is their other teammate, David Green, another car that's been fast but inconsistent. It's a little bump from the starting gate, but managed to recover. And that's a 7.15. That'll put him on the bubble. And up next is Jeff Gordon. After a fast start to the season, a couple of seconds race appearances, he's kind of petered out. Hasn't qualified for a race probably in 3 or 4 races, and I doubt that 844 is going to get him in. And up next is Ace Grimm. Ace Grimm, another one-hit wonder. He's only made 1 race so far this year. Could he be the next Kaz Gralla to turn his season around? And doesn't look like it. He swerves a little bit coming out of the gate. Loses a lot of speed in the turns. May not finish here, and that is a 9.43. He lives to race another day, but it's not going to get him into the show. Won't get him any points. And up next is Swervin Irvan. One of those cars that started the season off very slowly, got in a backup car, and got into the seconds race in his debut last week. And Swervin Irvan posts a 7.03. That should get him in the show. And now it's Elmo Langley. We haven't seen him in a while. This is another car that's in danger of being disqualified for the season if he doesn't make it into the show here. He's had probably 3, 4, 5 DNQs in a row. But he has taken this short track like a fish to water. That is a 7.06. That should get him into the show. And up next is Johnson Jr. We've seen him once this year. He was a mid-season addition. Our first fan commissioned car. Guy wanted a red number 11 car. Gave him this, and he got a top 10 in his debut. That's a 6.96. That'll probably put him on a front row in one of the segments. Up next is Bobby Labonte. Gets jolted up. His back wheels are in the air. Going to lose a lot of time from that, and he barely skates across the line. That's a 10.25. Next, it's Ted Musgrave with some fresh repairs on his car, and, well, it looks like he's going back to the drawing board for next year because that was not good. If you're wondering where some of these other drivers are, Truex and Blaney, their cars are too nice to drive through 1970s New York to get here. And Matt Kenseth has been benched for a week because he has too many DNFs. And up next, we have a fan favorite from the old days of Rhino and Sub 4 RA. Doing double duty between here and the Lord Shank Racing Cup in Australia. It's Vinny Oonts Nightlife. Now, Vinny must be really jet lagged from all these flights between here and Australia. It runs a 6.16 despite that. And up next is Stacy Compton, our last driver of the day. He's currently last place in points with 1 career start, 1 career last place finish. And that's all he's going to have until at least the season finale when he can bring his car for next year out for some track time. And here's a look at our starting lineup. If you notice, there's Rusty Wallace's car parked in the back row. That should be David Green. It was dark out. Both of those cars are black and yellow, and I grabbed the wrong one, and not only did I do that, but I put it where it would have been if he were in on points. So that means David Green gets to drive it and not Rusty Wallace, because Rusty Wallace did not earn a spot in this race because he had a slow qualifying lap. And that's a good thing I caught that now with one of my flea market cars and not when the mail-in tournament starts. So that's right, I said mail-in tournament. There's going to be more details in the videos to come. But in the meantime, keep guessing on who you think will win this race. And if you guess correctly, you'll get a Hot Wheels car in the mail when the season ends. So hit that like button, leave your guess who wins in the comments, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe. See yous on the track.